Hey there everyone, welcome to How to Skateboard. This is going to be the basics on how to skateboard, and there's going to be many more videos to come, so let's start off with the skateboard itself. Alright, so there are different size skateboards, all of it different variations. There's 7.75, 8.0. The only difference is the width and the length and the shape. So usually you just get your typical skateboard that looks like this. I skate a 7.75 because it's easier to flip and it's a lot lighter. Most people who skate 8.0s is for stairs and bull riding. So this is your skateboard. So these are the parts of the skateboard. First we got the trucks, which are right here. These are used for turning as well, grinding and doing different ledge tricks as well, rails and stuff like that. Alright, so these are your wheels and your bearings. You need bearings to help the wheel spin, and this is to get you to actually go places. Last but not least, we have the grip tape, and of course, just like the name itself, grip tape, it's grippy to actually give you some grip so you can stay on the board as well do different variations of tricks. Alright, so that's just basically your skateboard in hand. You got your trucks, board, grip, wheels, and bearings. There's different types of brands out there. I recommend if you're going to start off that you can just get a complete for really cheap, or you can just get like the basic, like cheap, different stuff from your skate shop. And once you get better at skateboarding, you can get professional brands. But yeah, right now I'm just riding a regular Punisher Pro series with the Punisher trucks, bearings, and wheels, which seems to do really good for me. So before you learn to skateboard, you obviously need a skateboard. On top of it, you need some actual skate shoes. You can use runners, boots, and all that stuff, but it's not going to help. You want a good pair of skate shoes, and of course, after you get your good skate shoes, you want protective gear if you're a beginner. You want to get a decent helmet that actually fits, that actually protects your skull. You could also get wrist pads to protect your hands, elbow pads, knee pads, and of course, one thing that I recommend is shin pads, because when you're a kid starting off to learn, or even an adult starting to learn, you're going to fall a lot. You're going to fall on your hands to protect yourself, so wrist pads come handy. You might even hit your head, so you want a skateboard helmet, elbow pads, knee pads, because you might also fall backwards, land on your elbows, and maybe fall forward and land on your knees. And that way, if you do fall, you're not going to get hurt, you're not going to get discouraged on not to skateboard. Where if you have the protective gear and you do fall, then it's going to protect you, you're not going to feel it, it's not going to hurt, and you're going to want to skateboard more and progress more. Now we're going to show you guys the different stances and how to stand on a skateboard. Alright, so first things first, you're going to want to figure out your stance. And my stance is goofy, so I stand on the board like so, with my front foot forward and my back foot on the back. Now there's the regular stance where your front foot goes on the front here and your back foot here. As you can tell, it's different from goofy because goofy is like so, and it's more my most comfortable way of skateboarding. You're going to have to figure out which way is the most comfortable for you. When I try to explain to kids on to figure out their stance, it's the most comfortable way that you stand on the skateboard. An easier way to determine that is when you're running and jumping on a sheet of ice, do you jump that way or do you run and jump this way? So for me personally, I feel most comfortable when I run and jump goofy stance, which is like this. Or if you're regular, you can actually run and then jump this way, most comfortable. So once you figure out the stance that you are, like myself, front foot is my right foot and my back is my left. That's goofy stance. And like I said, if you're going the other way, your left foot is actually your strength foot and your right is your back. That's regular. Or if you're naturally goofy, then for me it would be switch. But there's also different stances. Like if I'm standing goofy, like this, my proper stance, and I move forward to do a trick, that's nollie position. But if I go to do it this way, goofy, but I'm actually rolling backwards, that's actually fakie. So there's 4 different stances. There's regular, switch, nollie, and fakie. And it depends on which way your regular is. It could be either regular this way, or the opposite, which is goofy. So once you're comfortable actually figuring out which way you stance, you try to figure out the center of gravity to try to be square with the board. The best way is to have your shoulders actually equal with the board, and you gotta bend your legs to get balance and stuff like that. So now we're gonna move on to how to push. Alright, so first things first is you have your front foot forward on those front bolts, back foot on the back bolts. As you guys can see here, covering up the front and the back. Now what you're going to want to do is push with your left foot if you're goofy. The best way of describing it is almost like walking, because when you're walking with both feet. Or if you're using the skateboard to push, you're kind of like walking and pushing, as you can see here. And then what you're going to want to do is get balance to lift up your back foot on the back and then pivot that front foot like so. So when you get your foot up to the back, you're going to want to pivot that front foot to be equal and balanced.
Alright, so if you're pushing goofy, you got your right foot on the front, your left foot will be pushing, and then you eventually put your left foot onto the board over the bolts, turn your right foot sideways and bend your knees for support.
Alright, so since I'm goofy and Chris is regular, Chris is going to show you guys how to do the regular push.
Now if you're pushing regular, your left foot will be your front foot and your right foot will be pushing, as you can see here with Chris, and the harder you push, the faster you will go.
So of course, once you get comfortable with pushing and your stance, then you got to learn how to stop. So that's the next step, stopping. So there's different ways of stopping, and we'll go over a couple of them, and you guys can figure out yourself which way is the most comfortable for you on how to stop.
So to do a foot drag, you're going to be pushing and then using that back foot off and dragging it flat to a complete stop.
So the first way of stopping was by dragging your foot on the ground. Next we're going to do like a running off the board, like you jump off and run with it.
So the jump and run stop, you're going to use the same foot you push to step off and run off.
Alright, now that you guys know how to jump and run off the board, there's also a couple other ways to stop. You can do the toe drag, which is where you basically just drag your foot off the side.
So like I said, you're going to have your back foot on and just use the tip of the toe to drag to a complete stop.
Of course, if you don't want to ruin your shoes, you can also do the pat stop, which I'll show you guys right now.
This is probably the easiest way to stop for beginners. Basically the same foot that you used to push, you're going to step off, stomp on the ground while slowing yourself down to a complete stop.
Alright, so there's one more way that you can stop. There's other variations of how to do these ones, but this one is a tail drag. I don't recommend doing this one to learn how to stop, but people still do it, and once in a while I'll catch myself doing it.
This is probably the hardest way to stop for a beginner. Basically what you're going to do is push till you get some speed, lift up the front while bending back with your weight, dragging that tail to a complete stop. I recommend trying this in one spot, stationary, before trying it moving.
Alright, of course it depends on how fast you're going on the way that you want to stop. And the thing about the tail drag is that when you're tail dragging, you're going to end up wearing the end of your tail down to a sharp, small point. So I don't recommend that one. Plus also, you got to learn how to actually go back on your tail. So that's like getting ahead of ourselves on the steps, but I recommend if you're going really fast to jump off and run, or just do the pat down, because then you're not going to ruin your shoes. Alright, so this is also getting ahead of ourselves, but we're just going to kind of show you guys the breakdown of the stances. I know we kind of did that before, but it's better to show you while moving, because now you guys know how to push and stop, that we might as well show you the different stances, variations later on when you guys can actually do something. So here we go. Chris is going to show you guys how to do that. So this is Chris's regular stance, and this is how he does tricks regular. Just a basic ollie to show you guys. Alright, so he's starting off regular, which is his position, and now he's going to do a nollie. So he goes to the front and does his ollie, but nollie, so it's backwards, as you can tell. So now Chris is going to be skating switch, which is actually goofy. As you can see, he's going on the opposite side of the board. And that's a switch ollie for him because he's regular, and if you're goofy, regular is switch for you. Alright, so this way he's going to do a fakie ollie. So he's regular, so he has to go off the front, which is basically riding backwards, as you can see there. Alright, so we were getting ahead of ourselves showing you guys the different stances with the ollie, nollie, switch ollie, and fakie ollie. But we wanted to show you so you understand the stances on how you can go on different variations of the board, the way you're standing and the way you're moving, just so you get a concept of how it works. Alright, so this was all for you beginners out there, and if you're obviously more advanced, then you don't have to pay attention to this video unless you want to brush up your skateboarding skills. But for you beginners, go out, figure out your stance on how to stand comfortably on the board, which foot's your solid foot, your right foot, or your left foot. Figure out the stances, figure out how to push, figure out how to stop, and then of course we can move on to the next steps, which in the next video we'll actually explain on how to do carving turns, tic-tac turns, pivots, and obviously just a different variation of the turning and as well going back into stopping. And also in the next video we'll explain the simple basics of the manual. We're not going to get full into manuals yet, but you need to learn how to actually get on your back and lift it up, which we'll explain and show you in the next video, so stay tuned for that. So if you guys enjoy these videos, obviously give the video a thumbs up for a like. Comment down below with any suggestions or what you would like to see in the future on how to skateboarding made simple, or like, you know, basically different tricks and stuff like that that you want a tutorial on. And last but not least, please subscribe because it helps us out a lot and we really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the first video on how to skateboard.
Make sure to go to www.punisherskateboards.com for all your skateboarding needs, and don't forget to use the promo code CHAD to save 20% off all your Punisher orders. If you also want to see more in-depth detail about any of the steps, pushing, stopping, or stances, please let us know in the comments below and we'll make sure to make a video specifically on the pushing, stance, or stopping for all of you to enjoy. Thanks for watching. Now go out and skateboard and practice those steps.